If you've been playing Monster Hunter World for a couple months or at least kept track of content updates, the words Arch-Tempered should sound familiar to you. Arch-Tempered monsters are, to this date, the hardest challenge Monster Hunter World can offer. Next to the Ancient Legend and Extremeth, more HP and more attack. As a greater challenge should have, they seem to be the perfect match for people claiming to be one of the best. Right, to a certain degree, they are. Some Arch-Tempers are fun fights, even though they have god-awful gimmicks. The ones who are fine are Kirin, Kolv, Teostra, Xeno, and Zora. Let me explain why that is. Kirin's only new gimmick is a quicker super enraged state. If you know how to handle a pony, this won't be much different than the normal Kirin, except obviously for the elevated HP and attack, of course. Kolv hits harder, has more HP and status resistances, but farming her is well worth your while, and besides one or two new attacks, who are easily avoided, she isn't much different than normal Kolv. Teostra is a little bit annoying in my opinion, since his AT form alters his AI in a way so that he spams physical moves considerably more often in comparison to the normal variant. He leaps more, he runs more, he bites and scratches more, and here is the first problem we face. If a monster has speedy attacks, they usually do not hit that hard to balance that move. If a move comes out fast, it has to be weak in comparison, or else it will lead to many annoying encounters. Since Arch-Tempered monsters hit like a truck, even weaker, faster moves will deal a ton of damage. Teostra can be really frustrating in that regards, especially in blast mode, but he is tolerable. His flame aura in his flame mode is way too potent, meaning that your HP can vanish way too fast if you're too close, but since probably almost everyone runs health augments on AT hunts, you can kind of counter that to a degree. Xenojiva is the best Arch-Tempered in my opinion, since the fight is almost completely different than the fight against his vanilla counterpart. I won't go too much into detail, but you mostly fight him in his critical state. In this state he will be more feral, but he also receives significantly more damage, making that a great trade-off. Snora Magdaros. I'm pretty sure it is only possible to fail if you actually try. AT Zora on the other hand can be a little exciting for the first time, since you expect him to be the same boring fight, only to realize that the wooden fence is partially in splinters already. Sure, grinding tickets is still absolutely a slog to get through, but in comparison to what's coming next, here's a fun fight. Now let's go to the other side of the coin, the Black Sheep. The worst ATs are Val, Dunastra, Kushala, and Nergigante. Even though it's ultimately subjective, you can't deny that the monsters on this list have some god-awful gimmicks attached to them, which make fights very, very frustrating, and even if you know what you're doing, can result in many cards in almost an instant. Val's damage over time is the most annoying in the entire game. You have no way of negating it completely, and even if you use the Miasma charm, you still get tick damage constantly. Should you be foolish enough to not carry Effluvium resistance, your HP bar will be Thanos snapped in half incredibly fast. The DOT will do the rest. You get punished constantly and will be forced to either heal most of the time or to play incredibly aggressive to keep your HP up with health augmentations. Since this is an Arch-Tempered monster, you will die on a tap on your shoulder if your HP is not above at least 100 while you attack. If you bring the immunity or rocksteady mantle, you should also bring earplugs, or else you'll go deaf from the constant mantle sounds. Lunastra is pretty self-explanatory. The most hated monster in the game. Her moves are too fast, her damage is too insane, her unfair AoEs that she can rapid fire off at will, and her ability to litter the entire area with blue flames that miraculously home into you should she decide to ignite them with wind or bites. Don't make it too difficult to see why she's not very popular. Now imagine bumping up everything bad about her to an insane degree. She can now randomly Nova when she feels like it. There's probably a mechanic tied to it, but I don't care enough about this monster to figure it out, to be honest, which is going to result in a card in 9 out of 10 cases. I personally never survived it. At that point, there's usually so much blue fire everywhere that I either die to it or get heavily damaged with the heat taking out the rest of my HP in a matter of seconds. She combines terrible hit zones, high speed, fast attacks, damage over time gimmicks, rapid fire AoEs, high damage and massive HP into one monster. What a horrible, horrible fight. Eti Kushala, what to say? Nothing. Enter Arch-Tempered Nergi and Teo. The sole reason why I even did this video. Hyped up as the strongest of the Arch-Tempered monsters. The king of kings. The mightiest of the mighty. So much potential, so much hype, so much waiting. Was it worth it? His gear is fantastic, let's get this out of the way. With more than 26,000 HP in single player, he also has the most HP outside of Ancient Legend, Behemoth and Kovtaroth, but those are already scaled for multiplayer. He is an absolute beast. His quick jabs do insane damage and are fast too, which is the biggest issue for ITs, where fast, weak attacks become lethal and unfair, especially when monsters love to spam them. But if that is the only problem, the fight is one of the better ones, correct? Yeah, but it is not. Arch-Tempered Nergi is one of the worst Arch-Tempered monsters for a reason, and I will explain why in detail. Imagine fighting a monster 26,000 HP all by yourself, or 65,000 HP in a group. You kick his ass. You know what you're doing. You punish him, break his soft spikes, ragdoll him as if he was your bitch, and then you hear it. The sound of death. You blink, and when you open your eyes, you are back in base camp. What happened? Where am I? Is this the taste of blood in my mouth? Ow! There's spikes in my ribcage. What the hell is going on? You ask yourself. You've been pounded into a neat hunter pancake by the Pepega slam. This new move single-handedly turns the potentially exhilarating and exciting fight, a battle of skill and wits, where's the flagship of Monster Hunter World, into a tiring, stressful ordeal. This move comes out so fast, can be chained with every single move, can be spammed potentially infinite amount of times, and does so much damage, especially with spikes on his quest-ending forearms, that you're most likely cart with full health unless you have close to 500 defense.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Remember when I said fast attacks should be weak or at least be easily avoidable to avoid frustrations? That's called good balancing. If a move is strong and fast, that is bad balancing. It's like giving a fast monster more HP than a slow and sluggish monster. Another example of good balancing would be giving a monster with a ton of HP either delicious weak spots, raw or elemental, or just make it have a lot of punishable openings. A lightning fast monster with horrible hit zones and a ton of HP, bad. How about giving a monster with a ton of HP, fluctuating hit zones, massive attack stats, and insane speed, an attack that is even faster, can have AoE, under certain instances, tremor, and can be chained infinitely. That's what happened with Eti Nergi and Teo. The Pepega slam is basically a run-ender. I don't know a single person that has not carded once, at least once, to this attack. Some, me included, carded multiple times to it in a single hunt. Many, many times in fact. What are the ways to approach it though? You can either take it like a bitch, guard, or iframe it. If you guard it, you better hope you have a ton of stamina left, or you better start praying, because pulling out 3-foot spikes out of your abdomen is the second most painful thing that can happen to you. In case you want to iframe, you better roll early and into the correct direction, since the timing for this attack is as weird as the decision of Capcom devs to put this unholy attack into the game in the first place. Iframing or guarding this attack is also an option when you keep yourself ready to do so after every single attack animation. Remember this video? In this video, I explained that the key to making Nergi and Teo a rather easy fight is to play aggressive and abuse his white spikes so that they won't turn black. Try imagining this. Nergi's greasy arms grow white spikes. They almost seem like they're calling for you.
Oh, Hunter-kun, don't you want some of this delicious DPS? Well, come and get some.
So you attack them with your strongest attack, which will be enough to shatter them. But nope. Nergi and Teo cancels his recovery animation from his previous attack into the Pepega slam. And you're dead. That's fine, right?
Just be more careful next time.
You might think right now.
Just don't overcommit.
Someone else might think.
Get some more defensive skills so that you can survive it. The biggest DPS increase is not carding.
Thanks, Cartman. Let me address those points since I actually heard quite a few people throw these out. By being more careful, you drag out the fight. By dragging out the fight, you exponentially increase the risks of carting in the hunt down the line. Usually, exercising caution is completely fine, but in Nergi and Teo's case, that's a little bit different. If you leave him alone, the fight gets more difficult. Not only do his spikes go black, making you bounce and increasing his own damage, but also his speed increases for each roar that he does. So theoretically, if you let him live long enough to see it, he could increase his speed 100-fold and blitz you back to the first generation of Monster Hunter. Overcommitting is always a factor. If a usually safe opening gets interrupted halfway by Nergi and Teo's Pepega slam, which, as stated earlier, can cancel some recovery animations of attacks, making a lot of safe openings unsafe. Also, weapons like Greatsword and Charge Blade will become pretty much useless against 80 Nergi if you don't risk an SAD or TCS from time to time. Or are you telling me I've overcommitted here? Or here? Or here? Or here? Or here? You get what I mean. Getting more defensive skills is perfectly fine, but saying just get more defense or HP as a countermeasure to an attack with breakneck speed, insane damage, which is also spammable on top of it all in case you forgot, is like telling your child just to wear a helmet when it crosses the road next time where the notorious speeding local drunk is usually swerving around. That didn't work out well, did it? You can twist it the way you want. If the only way to cope with BS moves devs throw into the game to create artificial difficulty is to pray that the monster uses the aforementioned BS move as infrequent as possible, then I honestly don't know what to tell you. Arch-tempered Nergi and Teo is not a fun monster, even though it could have been. Ruined by one move. I doubt this trend will change. Arch-tempered monsters basically require no work at all. You make monsters flashier, their attacks more unfair, bigger, better, more grandiose. But you don't take into consideration that we actually have to have a way to either punish or evade those moves. If you don't consider this crucial aspect in game design and monster balancing, you will create a lot of people who are left frustrated and annoyed with this artificial difficulty. It's too easy to create the illusion of difficulty and challenge by just increasing numbers and sprinkling unfair stuff into the fight. Stir it and feed the shit shake to the players. The devs don't have to fight it, we have. I love this game to death. Well, it's not difficult to see if you check out my channel. I've been doing this for now 10 years. But I feel like even though it's obvious, I have to state the obvious, because sometimes the obvious is not obvious enough. The worst endgame monsters by far, this spot is reserved for the AT monsters. 140 Apex monsters and X Deviants were way better challenges, even though Apex monsters are kind of debatable due to the limitation of Y stones. While I was editing the video, I was thinking a little bit about the ATs, and I'm 90% sure that the ATs were not planned at the very start of the game. Capcom got kind of overwhelmed with the popularity and the success of Monster Hunter World, so they didn't really plan much, so that they just basically did the bare minimum. And when they first made Tempered Deviljho and saw that he was kind of popular because he was not only tankier and buffer and stuff, he was actually a challenge. He was the first monster who got twice as much DHP and slightly altered moveset, which is usually a trademark for AT monsters, and that is why I think that they saw Tempered Deviljho and they thought, okay, we can do this just for the Elder Dragons. So they did it, but they can't make tempered monsters because they already have tempered versions, so they just made Arch-Tempereds. That's honestly the reason why I think Arch-Tempereds are even a thing. I might be completely wrong, and if they really thought Arch-Tempered monsters are a good idea from the very start, then obviously my points still stand, and even if they thought we're gonna make Arch-Tempereds a thing now, that's still not very good. But let's continue with the video. Maybe someone chucked a few pennies into a wishing well and dropped a golden lamp or something so that we get something else as our final challenge in Iceborne. Just sweep the ATs under the rug and keep him in Monster Hunter World. Put a blanket drenched in gasoline over it and set it on fire. I don't know. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go and get my ass kicked by Arch-Tempered Nergi and Teo. See ya, folks.
Now I can finally turn off this voice changer.